Carriers were also in operation on the west coast of Korea. On both coasts, the Navy's task of mine sweeping was continuing. During the resupply operations, the Philippine Sea is hit by a snowstorm. Despite the weather, a tanker comes alongside and refueling gets underway. As refueling and the transfer of supplies continue, the seas get higher and higher, and the storm becomes a veritable blizzard. This is not an unusually heavy storm. It is typical winter weather in the northern Sea of Japan. The crew breaks out snow shovels on the carrier. Although air operations are halted during the height of the storm, flights from snow and ice-covered decks are becoming routine. The planes are covered to protect them from the storm. Combat maintenance of the Corsairs and Panther jets continues through the storm. The Navy reports the typical Korean temperatures in the northern area average 11 degrees above zero during November and 5 degrees below zero during December. A more familiar kind of winter combat starts on the carrier deck. This is a severe test for carrier planes. During World War II, most carriers were in the milder climate of the South Pacific. After the tanks have spearheaded through to the border near Haisan-jin, the men of the U.S. 7th Division come in to take over. It is bitter cold in the valleys as they advance doggedly across the snow patches. It is even colder as they ascend the slopes, and it is tougher going up. Frozen ground offers little in the way of footholds. Fortunately, there is not much opposition from the enemy. Our planes help take care of that. One good thing, they are advancing. It is a tough, climbing job, but they are going forward. Slowly but steadily, they are coming closer and closer to their objective, the south bank of the Yalu River on the Manchurian border. At this time, it appears that reaching the border will be the beginning of the end of the war in Korea, and the men are anxious to get to their objective. Finally, they see it stretching out in front of them, the Yalu River, frozen over completely, and the Korean town of Haisan-jin, nestling in the snow-patched valley.
Well, the opposition seemed to decrease as we advanced. The enemy was fighting a rear guard action. They weren't putting up a real battle. A couple of places they paused to turn around like the cornered rat, as he will fight when he's cornered. They threw a lot of mortars at us, sniper fire, but as we moved up, passed through Kapsan, led by tanks, the infantry swept right through the opposition, and we made it to the border. It was the 21st of November, just 3 days before Thanksgiving. They brought these turkeys up from the quartermaster, about 100 miles through the rear, and those were truck convoy runs. Mm-hmm. They ran them through all night. They got there to the 17th Regiment on the front lines at about 3 a.m. in the morning. And the next afternoon, we had turkey on the Yalu River. I think every man in the division had his Thanksgiving turkey that day. And, well, we've been eating hot meals regularly right along. I know a lot of World War II veterans will wonder about that, but the frontline troops did have the hot meals right there in the foxhole.
But on the other side of the Yalu, Chinese armies were massed. A whole new war was about to begin. Late in November, two full Chinese field armies attacked across the Yalu, splitting UN forces and rolling them back. What President Truman had first called a police action had now become a major war. Our forces in the west pulled back to the south.
At the Changjin Reservoir, the men of the 1st Marine Division and the 7th Infantry Division find themselves trapped by 10 communist divisions. That's when the withdrawal is ordered. "Retreat? Hell," snapped one Marine commander. "We're not retreating, we're just advancing in a different direction." Orders are issued for all the troops to assemble at Hagaru. This time their objective is to break through and reach Hungnam on the coast 60 miles away. Through howling winds and icy blasts of snow, preparations are made for an orderly withdrawal. Back across the frozen valleys, which they had fought so hard to capture. It was tough enough when they were advancing. It was far worse to have to pull back. They are already tired, cold, and weary as they move into the assembly area, but they know they will fight their way out of the trap. Even the heaviest of armor and tanks are to be taken back. There are casualties as much from the cold as from snipers' bullets. The wounded are carried along. The dead are buried. But the assembly for the withdrawal continues unabated. Food and supplies are airdropped from C-47s and C-119s by the 21st Troop Carrier Squadron of the Combat Cargo Command. Ammunition, medical supplies, and food are dropped. No matter how cold and tired they may feel on the ground, the sight of these cargo planes dropping their parachute loads from the skies gives the men a sense of not being forgotten, a feeling that they are still part of a vast team, fighting together. Meanwhile, preparations for the long, hazardous move progress. All excess equipment is burned or destroyed. They make sure that nothing will be left that the enemy can make use of. Trucks, jeeps, everything and anything that is mobile that can move under its own power is saved. The enemy will find, when they take over, only ruined earth and charred remains.